Live, super flying into severe storms in the UK.
On the flight deck, they're just sitting.
Climate change weather, UK 2025. Like the Empress turns up on the right side of the screen. So it was like flying into Storm Elwyn, which was a nice storm we had last winter across the UK. No joke. This guy's famous for doing videos of planes standing in storms, and it's all about planes on nice days when they're like, planes are coming in and out all the time, all year round.
And look at it closely, you'll see how amazing these aeroplanes are. You know, when people turn on
Boeing 7s
and they see these things landing, especially on a day like today. I mean, we had winds around about 40 miles an hour this morning, gusting sideways as well. So when you look at them, they're coming in towards you and they're doing what's called crabbing.
Crabbing, zigzag sort of angle.
Observe all of that, and then people who maybe have a fear of flying are seeing this and going, wow, why am I so worried? Because these guys really are in control.
Of course they are. They're experts, the pilots are. You're safe as a house.
But even if the pilots are in complete control, for passengers or crew working in the cabin, it can be terrifying.
The whole plane shakes. I've been on a plane and turbulence taken off.
My name is Peter from Bedford.
Well, it's took it off, got on the seatbelt, and then all of a sudden there was turbulence. Let's put it that way from going to the French Alps years ago.
The plane was going up and
on my ski holidays in Cable.
And people were screaming, people were crying, being sick. It was really bad. We tried to touch down, and then we were lifting up again, circling the airport, try again, failed again.
These storms are getting more dangerous with climate change, guys. Turbulence is increasing. There's a lot of heavy snow across the French Alps recently. This just shows you the weather is very precarious for the future's weather for the future across Europe and the UK.
Before being diverted to Birmingham and locked on an aeroplane for 5 hours. The closer and closer we got to the ground, the more and more the aeroplane was being knocked around by the storm. It felt like being inside a washing machine.
So I suspect we won't end up flying back to Bristol because the risk is just too much, really.
The captain decided it was too dangerous and aborted the landing, at which point he suddenly pulled the nose of the aeroplane very steeply back up into the sky. It really was the worst thing I've ever experienced on an aeroplane.
Not surprised.
My name's Jen, and when I was flying to Bristol in January 2024, the landing was aborted because of Storm Isha. The turbulence because of the storm was like nothing I had ever experienced before. And when
that winter was bad because it was super El Nino. 2023, 2024 winter was.
The legal limit for him to land, and we started to climb. I have never been so relieved in my life.
These storms are getting more dangerous and more violent.
I don't think any cabin crew, anyone who's flown as cabin crew, has not had moments when they've been scared. Particularly for me, coming into land, I've come into
I was
land.
at the right side of screen times down there, and it's 18th of April. Well, the 19th of April, Saturday morning, like 10:05.
You might be scared, but you know that if something does happen, you're ready, and that's why you've done all your training. There's nothing wrong with being a little bit scared and having a very healthy respect for the environment that you work in.
This is Sky Channel Sunday Evans.
And complex, detailed and meticulous training is something the whole aviation industry runs on.
This is an airline academy, so it's a full-time integrated training program.
Those airplanes
with little to often no experience at all. They're with us for around 20 months, and that will take them from zero through to fully qualified commercial pilot.
Wow!
Ready to go into the airline stage of their training at that point. It's a progressive.
That's nearly 2 years.
So initially, when you start flight training, you'll be exposed to relatively low crosswinds, maybe as low as 5, 6, 7 miles per hour. And then as you get more experience, that is gradually built up. So from the start of your flight training through to being a captain in an airliner, it's going to be 6 years before you are ever fully exposed to the full crosswind limits of a modern day airliner.
Wow, that's a long time.
Students spend many hours in this simulator, practicing how to deal with challenging weather conditions, such as thunderstorms, turbulence, and strong crosswinds at landing.
So Nick, I can see on the weather radar there that we've got a storm ahead.
What are the considerations then that you're kind of instructing on how we go around the hazards of this thunderstorm?
Sure. What the weather radar showed us is actually intensity of
The rain.
of water droplets.
That's radar
And
doffing
it's
device for
in a
you.
very sort of convenient way of green, amber, and red. The green is a light intensity, the amber is medium intensity, and the red is a high intensity. And
Winds
associated with that,
especially.
not necessarily the rain, but it's almost certainly going to be turbulence associated with it as well. And turbulence is clearly something we're aiming to avoid as far as possible in airline flying.
Yeah.
So in this particular instance, we turned away from it. We would have done coordination with air traffic control, and we just take a sort of cautious sort of distance away to one side of it. So there's no sort of chance of any turbulence rolling off downwind of that storm that you can actually sort of...
You can't avoid big storms in the winter though, can you really?
Planning a flight, Nick,
Compared to
how
summer
much do you
thunderstorms.
look at the weather?
It doesn't matter if you're flying a light aeroplane or a 390-ton 747. The first thing you're always going to check is the weather. And any commercial flight, the flight crew, the first thing they look at will be the weather for the airport they're going from, the airport they're going to.
Yes, big airports to small local ones like Fair
And
Oaks.
the weather in between as
In
well.
Surrey locally.
See where things might cause difficulties.
So commercial planes to the private planes,
Oh, sounds
or
good to me.
private jet planes from Farnborough Airport, for example.
This is something I've always wanted to try, but I have a feeling Captain Nick has a pretty tough challenge for me.
So Simon, here we are. First go at the 737 flight simulator. You tell me you've been having a look at your Microsoft Flight Simulator. How's it compared to that?
Well, there's a few more buttons here, aren't there? A bit more technical than the computer game.
Simon's the weatherman. This is the bloke on the right, does the weather forecast in the Met Office.
Yeah, we've actually set up on the approach into Edinburgh Airport, which you can actually make out in the distance there. Actually,
Oh yes,
so
you can
make
see
it out there.
the runway.
All right, so if we're ready to go.
Yes.
A bit like me, really.
Okay.
My name's famous. That's already a Simon at the weather Met Office already.
Obviously, pushing the joystick forwards makes me go up.
No, pushing forward makes the nose go
Oh,
down.
go down. That's it. Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's discount the autopilot again now. You're spot on at the moment. Try not. There we are. You're flying it now.
Okay. We're landing a passenger plane manually in gusty crosswinds.
You put a little bit of left bank on, which is why we just drifted. So just go right, roll very slightly to the right.
Yeah. And up a little bit
You need to
more.
pull up
as well.
slightly.
But then the plane is very heavy. The nose of the plane is very
I
heavy.
realise how sensitive and precise you have to be with the controls. It really is just small movements, isn't it?
Yep, okay. That's really looking nice at the moment. Try not to roll it to the left again.
You don't want to pitch it or roll it.
I feel like I'm fighting the wind a little bit here.
Okay, yep, okay. So it is blowing off to the left a little bit there. So lower that nose again, just push forward slightly, get back on
On top of the right side screen, please. Get your uncles and aunts subscribe to my channel and subscribe to it, please.
Just correct it to the left now. Okay, rather on the high side again here.
Definitely not as easy as flight simulator games at home.
500. Okay, so at this point, we're really too high for the approach, so we would do a go around. So if you like, I'm going to do it. So, okay, so I'm going to do a go around. So, go around.
A go around is when the pilot abandons a landing, pulls up, and takes the plane in a huge circle, ready for another attempt. So this will be a totally normal situation.
Yep, there we go, positive fly. Gear up.
So we'll be climbing up, we'll be going around, and then you would just try and attempt to do the landing again.
That's it, yeah. So we just continue this process really. And that's it. That's now our go around manoeuvre completed. We're back up at a safe altitude of 3,000 feet, and now we would make some considerations about what happened there, and would we go around and do a second approach? Would we consider diverting?
So that was much trickier than I thought it was going to be. Concentrating on the instruments, making sure that we're going in the right direction, but then looking out the window and almost seeing.
I've always wanted to become a pilot. It's one of my dreams, or one of my other dreams in life.
It's very disconcerting, but obviously that's what you need to do to try and get the
Seems a lot harder than it looks.
into your landing, even if it's slightly sideways. But I could really feel the wind buffeting the aircraft as I was trying to move.
Simon the weatherman.
And
Hello.
yeah, I'm very glad that
Met Office.
we've got the experts in charge
There you go.
of doing these landings.
Please squash on Simon Jones, but funds at the right side screen, please. It's climate change, when the wind's getting worse then. Look at that. That's what it's like. Really bad turbulence.
There are times when something like turbulence can almost come from nowhere.
The turbulence was like nothing I've ever experienced before. I mean, the plane was lurching left to right, up and down.
We just felt the plane dip for about 5 seconds, and next to us we saw the flight attendant just go up in the air and come straight back down. They have the seatbelt signs on, they're off. Next minute, whoa.
That's right. That's what happens.
Lap. Yeah, just food all over the
Comes
place.
out of nowhere.
You know, you think
They're like pockets of strong winds.
the whole plane was shuddering, and you think it's going to land on land in the water. Is it going to crack up? Because great pieces were falling off and dropping on the floor.
Blimey.
People getting hit in the head. He had his arm around me and held me down.
That's why it's best that it says seatbelt on, even when the seatbelt belt sign is not showing at all times. If you can. I would. I always do. There you go.
Turbulence is it's your chaotic airflows, and there's several types of turbulence. You can have turbulence due to thunderstorms, we call that convective turbulence, usually presence of clouds, very active cells. You can also have turbulence due to mountain waves, wave-breaking air flowing through those waves, and they can propagate up.
Yeah, that's the French Alps or the Austrian Alps if you're landing there, as I experience every year.
There's clear air turbulence, which is a turbulence that you can't see because it's not due to clouds or it's not due to
Oh, really?
topography,
Didn't know that one.
but it's a turbulence due to vertical wind shear.
Fascinating,
And
historically
that
speaking.
happens due to difference in temperature. So if you have more temperature difference at those altitudes, you will have greater vertical wind shear, and that is
Stop
the
the
trigger
screen,
for
please.
clear air turbulence.
There you go, it's splash on sign, Jim.